Hey, everybody, it is Lisa Narian, and I am here with Julia Jinks, and we are excited to talk to you guys today about career exploration. This has been something on our hearts and minds for a long time at True North. We've been offering career exploration since we started in 2018. This year, Julia Jinks is taking over the class, and I'm so excited that she is. She's a former news producer, so she's been in the front lines of what's happening in the world. She's a former HGTV author, a writer, and so she's really been kind of like in the news. She's seen what's happening with a lot of industries, and we've been talking about this class a lot. So, Julia, welcome. So glad you're here to talk about what's happening in the world.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, we our last conference was in Texas, and I came back and I was talking to Gina, our marketing director, and said, we've got to put out something for the families because the number one question I'm getting at conventions is, where do I find a good career exploration class? And that's what you're offering this year. But we have a free career exploration interactive guide. I'll put the link in the comments. But tell us a little bit about the class and why you're excited about it. Like I said, we've been offering this at True North for years, but you're revamping it based on things you've seen, your own kids, and just materials we've been talking about all summer. Do you mind sharing what your thoughts are about career exploration right now?
Well, I would recommend for everyone to really think about career exploration with their kids. Like for my kids, we met with a career counselor. We spent I feel like we got a really great deal for what we got, but it was still hundreds of dollars and a lot of time. But it didn't take very long for the kids. It wasn't, they weren't very invested in it. And so I didn't feel like we got as much information as I feel like the course is going to cover. The course is
Mhm.
going to cover so much more. I have friends who have paid thousands of dollars
Yeah.
to sit with a counselor just for a couple of hours. This class is going to take place over 15 weeks. So we're going to really be able to really get into the research and to really find out um, just new things that are happening in the industries and the jobs and
Mhm.
how important it is to find all this out before you go to college and you tackle just the tuition every semester it's a lot.
Yeah, yeah. I speaking of hiring somebody to sit with your kids for a couple hours and give them a test, like usually the MMPI or whatever, it's it's kind of passive on the part of the kids. Like they're not really owning that information for themselves. They're going to take a test, they get a report, their parents read it, and then they might have a conversation about what's next. But the difference between that kind of experience and a 15-week semester long class experience is that the kids are coming in and they're doing the reading, they're doing the research, they're asking the questions, they're interviewing their family members, they're taking ownership and responsibility for their interests and how to set themselves up vocationally. Do you think that that's a fair assessment?
Definitely, I do.
Yeah. So I do think we talk a lot about the fourth industrial revolution at True North. I feel like every Facebook Live, I'm like, and it's the fourth industrial revolution. I keep camping that on that because I think it's so important. We are in an age of disruption, and the way we launched, and listen, I'm older than everybody. So the way I launched way back in the 80s is really different than our kids are launching. But even if you launched in the 90s or the early 2000s, that's 20 years ago. It's pre COVID. And if you're launching your kids that way, you're literally 20 plus years behind the eight ball because college is different, trades and tech is different, managing finances is different, buying a house is different, relationships are different. Are you going to, I mean, that's a lot to even think about tackling in a semester, but I know you've revamped this class. So are you going to touch on any of that with the kids?
We're going to look at all the different jobs that have developed even in the last 3 or 4 years. So that will be a main part of the research. Over the summer, I've watched with one of my kids some YouTubers who the content and the creation that they have is just out of this world. So I can't wait. And I hope that we have some kids who are interested in something like that so that we can even look at things that we've never even thought about. So there's just so much research and so much fun, but there's so many jobs that who would even ever think about that as a real job?
I know, I know. I was talking with a friend of mine. about just how it used to be so difficult to podcast. Like you had to be kind of techie, and now it's direct entry. You just get a free download of Audacity or whatever. You just do a recording and you can plop it on line somewhere and you can get a following. I mean, that's how, like Mr. Beast, that's how he got started. So many others. And so there's a real direct entry for a lot of our kids. They might not need $100,000 college degree or a $50,000 tech degree. They might need one or two classes in audio video editing and a plan, because if they're motivated, I mean, the sky's the limit right now. Would you agree with that? I mean, it's kind of
I
crazy to me.
I definitely think so. And I think what your kids are interested in, that's where they should be. That's where we should be directing them, not to tell them you need to go to pharmacy school because your sister did it and she
Yeah.
makes good money. But there are so many other things out there that kids can think about that maybe they're more interested in and
Mhm.
will take ownership of it. And then who knows, they may spend hours upon hours looking into it before they even get into it, which will be great. So,
Yeah, I love it. I do think I read something a couple months ago that said we spend so much of our educational life trying to fill in the gaps of our kids academically, the areas that they're challenged in, that we don't really focus on the things that they're interested in and passionate about. But the research is in, if your kids are having fun, they're going to learn faster and better and they'll retain more. So I think this class is so helpful because it helps the kids understand their personality, their interests, what really lights them up. And then as parents, we can invest some time and intention into saying, let's put a couple $100 towards that. Let's see how far you can fly with that. And I think that just gives us all an advantage as we're homeschooling our kids. We're not constantly like backpedaling or forward pedaling.
right.
Yeah.
One thing that the career counselor sat down with my kids, one of my kids, she said, "How much money do you want to make when you graduate college?" And he said, $200,000. And I thought, where did he come up with that number?
Yeah.
Like, how in the world? But
Number, I love it.
he knew exactly, like, I want to make this much. And so then she went backwards, like, okay,
Yes.
here are the jobs that, fit your skill set and what you're interested in and your hobbies. So he's on his way. So I think he's a senior, and I feel like he is set. He knows now exactly what he wanted to do, and
Yeah.
we weren't sure that he would want to do. He's in architecture school,
Yeah.
and we weren't sure that he would even be able to want to do the math or any of that. But we, after some research and more, he did some shadowing, which is part of the class,
Yes.
because they work on a project all semester long.
Mhm.
And so that's a real big part of it,
I
is
love
just
it.
trying to find what they're interested in. And then shadowing is so important, because I know I shadowed when I was in college, or I guess in high school. I
Yeah.
shadowed, and I really got to see a part of a job that I wanted to do, but I didn't even know about the job. So
Yeah, that's awesome.
yeah.
I love that. Your husband's a veterinarian, and one thing I hear all the time is usually from moms of young girls, like teenagers, "My daughter wants to be a veterinarian because she loves animals." And I'm like, they need to shadow a vet. They really need to shadow a vet because they don't realize that you might like cause pain to an animal. You might have to put an animal down. That's a big part of the job. And when they hear that, they're kind of like, well, I don't really want to do that part. Maybe being a trainer or a vet tech or something else with animals, but job shadowing can really change your perspective on things in a unique way. So I love that our class includes that, because it does allow kids to see not only the job they're shadowing, but all the surrounding jobs that go with that, which is super important. Yeah.
It's definitely,
Yeah.
yes. And veterinary work is so smelly. So if you have any aversion to smells, I would not do that job.
I know. I have, my husband's like, you should work for the FBI as a smeller. Just getting close to the vet clinic, I'm like, oh, it just stresses me out. So totally, yes, there are a lot of smells with certain kind of jobs, which is important to understand. So tell us a little bit about the class and how you've got it structured. And I just want to share a vignette before you go into that. Part of the class was the kids have to actually write a resume and submit it, try to get a job interview kind of thing. And last year, three kids out of the class were offered jobs on the spot in those interviews. And they were like, no, this is a class project. This is like kind of a fake kind of thing. And the guy's like, I'm so impressed. I want to hire you. Are you interested in working here? So even though it's a class exercise, a couple of them got part-time jobs out of it, which I think is so
Wow.
awesome. Yeah. Yeah.
That's really cool. I did have a couple of books. I'm going to have the kids choose like a book that they'll read. Some of the ideas were the 7 Habits, How to Win Friends and Influence Others, um, Atomic Habits, and the 12-Week Year. So the kids will get to pick one of those books, and we're going to use some of our class time to talk about what they've learned and how that's propelled and motivated them to do their work. And I mean, if kids know where they're going after high school, they'll be so much more motivated, I feel like, to do their coursework in high school and to
Yeah.
do it well.
Right. I agree. And, I think just clarifying what they want to do after high school really can help them streamline what they're doing in high school. Like they don't have to take certain classes, or they might be able to finish early, or they want to take additional classes. It just really does give clarity to what you're doing in high school. If you don't know where you're going, it's hard to get there, really, is the bottom line.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. But the whole class goes towards a capstone project, and that's the project where they find a job, they interview someone that does the job, and they shadow. So I think the kids can learn so much together and from each other as well, because they're all going to be doing hopefully different research, and that will open all of our eyes to all the jobs that are out there.
Right. So I mean, I'm always talking about the 4 C's of education, and collaboration is one of them. These are actual soft skills your kids really need to develop in high school because they're going to be necessary in this disrupted time, honestly. And collaboration is one of them. And our kids are really going to live and work in a global gig economy. I mean, here's Julia and I half a country away on a video talking to people from around the world, and that's the world our kids are going to live and work in. So teaching them collaboration, like what they're going to learn in Julie's class, is going to be that kind of life skill that is going to be transferable to whatever else they do outside of high school. And so we want to get them used to doing presentations in class and having those kind of back and forth conversations with each other where they get to do the presentation, they get to respond to people saying, "Oh, I don't know about that," and then they can rise to that challenge. So we've set up the classes so they're small group, and the kids do get to know each other and the teacher. We respond in real time, which I think is really unique right now in the online space. We're not packing the classes with 200 kids. We get to know all of their names, and then we have a really robust learning management system that houses. It's a virtual campus, really, that houses a lot of supporting materials. But I love that you've got those kind of discussions baked right into the class. We've had some lively discussions at True North over the years.
We have.
Yeah, yeah. So they're going to read a book. They're going to do a capstone project. What else are they going to do in this class?
Well, we are going to talk about interviews, and we're going to practice interviewing each other. So I think that'll be a lot of fun. So they'll know, like, these are the questions that you get to ask your peer,
Yeah,
but you'll be asked these questions too. So they'll really have, I feel like they're going to have a tool belt of all of these things that they need to have
mhm,
afterwards.
right. I think interview skills are so important right now. I talked to business owners. One gentleman said he was interviewing a new hire, and he asked the person, "What do you expect to make?" And it was like for software development, and the 4-year-old said $90,000 a year. And he said to him, like, "So what software have you developed? Where have you worked? Where have you internshiped?" And he hadn't done any of that. He had a degree. That was it. And he said, "Well, your expectations are really kind of overblown." And the young guy said, "Well, that's what we were told in school, is that our starting salary would be like at this level, and I don't want to undervalue myself." And so I think having interview skills and just kind of like it really helps the kids do kind of a reality check, because a lot of them don't have a good sense of money. In some ways, you also teach personal finance, so take that class too. These are like real life skills our kids desperately need right now, right?
Absolutely. I just don't think the kids understand the money aspect.
Yeah,
And And for them to, I don't know, in the personal finance, we do a stock market game,
Yeah.
and we visit, we, I guess, have a presentation each week on stocks and what they're buying and why they're buying it. And I just think it's really interesting. And I think kids really grab onto that and they
Yeah.
really want to dive in. And maybe they should look at a finance. I did have a personal finance student last semester say, I'm going to do personal finance. I really had thought I was going to do something else in my, for my career, but maybe he needs to
Wow.
take career exploration so that he could look into all the finance jobs there are.
There are so many finance jobs, and it's easy to make $200,000 after a couple years after college, or even immediately. I mean, if you're in that space, but we had some great feedback about that. The stock market stuff was such a great interest to the students last year. We got so many reviews from the kids saying this was my favorite part of the class. I came in feeling really intimidated by it, but it is such a fun strategy game. And so I think that's kind of what you're doing with career exploration too, is you're teaching the kids that your life really is a game. And if you have strategy, you can play that game really, really well. And the reality is we're all going to have hardships. We're all going to have things come at us out of the blue that we don't expect and cannot ever plan for. We're all going to make mistakes because that's just life. But learning how to fail forward and learning how to strategize, and that even if a failure comes this way, you can figure it out. Everybody who's still breathing and living and showing up every day, we've all done that, right? So that's kind of part of what your class is all about, really, is creating a strategy so that they can really live. I hate to use this phrase, but their best life. And by that, I mean, they can live the life that they're called to live. We all have this sense of who are we supposed to be. We might not have it really honed down, but we kind of all know when we're on the right path and when we're not. Would you agree? I mean, is that just me?
No, I believe God's created all of us for a purpose, and we need to figure out what that purpose is. We have gifts and talents, and I think He has set us that way so that we can use those in a way that gives Him glory.
Yeah, absolutely. So, what else do parents need to know about this class? I think it's one of those classes every high schooler should take, is career exploration, because you touched on this earlier. There are so many new jobs. And I read by 2030, 85% of the jobs that we have now in 2025 are going to be different. That is crazy disruption. So how do we even get our kids ready for that job market?
Right. And there's so many jobs that are such in high demand
Mhm.
that don't need a degree. I
Right,
mean, I think I saw a news interview yesterday with a guy, and he said the plumbers, electricians, they're in such high demand
right,
um, that they need I mean, these trades are going to be so valuable and so needed, and
right.
already are, but even at 2030
Mhm.
they're going to be even more.
Right. I also, with I mean, AI programmers and people who understand AI from the technical aspect are going to be in high demand. But as AI grows, electricity needs grow too. And so I think that's one of the things people aren't realizing, that electricians are going to be every bit as valuable as the AI programmers, because the programmers can't work without the electricians. And so one of the job projections is the electricians are going to be making well over six figures in a couple years. And you absolutely don't need a 4-year college degree for that. You can do a tech school or a 2-year degree trade school, and even a lot of trades companies, if you qualify, they'll pay for your trade schooling. There's so many new ways of really managing what you're going to do. And I love what you said. I don't think, when I was growing up, you either kind of were blue collar or you went to college, one or the other, but that's over. That's really over. A lot of people who are really making great money, they started out in the trades. They started their own business. Now they own several businesses, and the what do they call them? Um, the dirty jobs are just growing, and the reason why, partly too, is the baby boomers are retiring. And if they own an HVAC company or an electricity company or whatever, and their kids don't want it, then what do they do with that company? So if your kids have some ability in trades, there could be businesses just waiting for them to purchase on top of it all. So great opportunities abound, way more than I felt like we had. We had two paths, you know?
Yes. I also heard that CPAs are going to be such in high, like there are certain careers that are going to be really in high demand just
Yeah.
because the kids in this age are not choosing those careers.
Wow.
So
Really?
I think it's
CPAs?
yeah, so I think it's important to know like what's hot, like what's going to be hot in a couple of years and what's not. So,
Yeah.
and if you decide not to do a degree, you've just saved yourself probably, more than $30,000 at least.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. The average college student graduates with $37,000 in debt. I mean, and some far more, some less, but with the deregulation of student loan companies, you can have a small debt that can blow up through no fault of your own. If you take a forbearance or whatever, there's so many ways to have a lot of money for a long time. I think I read it takes over 20 years to pay off a student loan debt. So even if it's like 8 or 10,000, it can take you you can be well into middle age before you even get rid of that debt. And for a lot of our kids, it kind of back to, I don't think they understand money. They're like, $300 a month isn't that much. But when you add in kids and mortgage and travel for work and all the things, keeping the Wi-Fi on and all that kind of stuff, $300 a month, not having it can really change your life. And having it can really open up opportunities you can't even consider without it. So, and of course, student loan debt can be much more than that. So, yeah, we're all about helping your kids create a strategy so that they can really consider career fields they might not even know exist or look at things that are going to be in super high demand. Are you going to have a section on that in the class where you really talk about what's happening with career fields right now?
I feel like we have to talk about it every week. I feel like it's such
Yeah.
an important topic that it will be something, maybe that'll be a part of part of our 1 hour will be like what's changing, what's different, what's happening.
Yeah, I love that. Maybe like case study kind of things. I know they're doing that in entrepreneurship where they're looking at like just companies that grew out of nothing and how did that happen. So I think that would be so valuable for the kids in career exploration to just kind of look at career fields and how they're changing radically. Because just like in the second industrial revolution, Cartwrights used to be such a big deal, right? Like everybody who had any kind of horse and buggy went to a Cartwright. They were the people who made the wheels for the carts and the horses and buggies and stuff. And that whole industry went kaput in the second industrial revolution. But tires became a thing, multimillionaires, a lot of millionaires from tires, the Department of Transportation, windshield wipers. I mean, I could go on, car radios, on and on and on because of the advent of the automobile industry. I grew up in Ohio, the Rust Belt, and so, but that's all changing now too, because we're in the fourth industrial revolution. So we're in another cycle of just real change and disruption. And I personally think it's an exciting time for our kids. I think I think if we can really help them strategize and support them, and help them understand that, like you said, like your interests are part of who God created you to be, and you have an important part to play, and we can help direct them in a way. Um, like the sky's the limit for our kids right now in so many unique ways.
Right. So we need to prepare them to be able to grab onto these jobs that will really take off.
Yeah, I agree. So the career exploration class, it is a fall semester class. It meets for 15 weeks under the excellent tutelage of Julia Jinks. And you've been teaching at True North for like 4 or 5 years now, right?
This will be my 4th year. Yes.
Will it really? Oh my gosh, it
Yeah.
goes so fast. And we got to meet last year, which was so much fun. She also teaches the English and history for middle school. Those classes you've done a lot of revamping since you've been here. Those classes are super fun. You got the Literary Intelligence Agency and Histopoly. So if you're looking for classes that are going to really inspire your middle schooler, and then American Lit and Comp. And this is a great year for anything American Lit or history related because of the birthday celebration. So excited about that. And then you're doing personal finance and career exploration. Did I miss anything? I hope you didn't freeze, but I think maybe you did. But I think those are all the classes Julia's teaching this year. Um, and we'll see if she comes back in just a minute. But super excited that Julia is continuing to teach at True North. She is an exceptional instructor. You can go to the website at truenorthhomeschool.academy and check out her class reviews. The Literary Intelligence Agency under middle school, Histopoly, it's American history with kind of a Monopoly board game. And then also the other classes too, American Lit and Comp, Career Exploration, and Personal Finance. Well, you guys, oh, there you are again. You froze for a little bit. Okay.
Yep.
Did you want to say anything about, I just kind of went over your classes again. Anything you want to share specifically about any of them?
I don't think so. I'm excited and I'm preparing and I can't wait.
Yeah, it'll be a great year. So our classes start the week of August 25th. There's still time to enroll. We'd love for you guys to check out all of the classes on the website at truenorthhomeschool.academy. If you have any questions for Julia specifically, you can post them in the comments or shoot us a Facebook message and we'll get those to her. But you guys definitely consider taking the career exploration class for your students this fall. It's such a honestly important class. I know my kids, my younger 3 kids all did the career exploration class in a class format, my youngest 2 at True North. And it really kind of changed some of the trajectory of what they were doing because it opened up some opportunities for them they literally did not know existed. And that's actually before we go, that's actually one of the exercises the kids do is interview their family. Are you keeping that one this year?
Yes, definitely.
I love that one. Tell us a little bit about that exercise.
So I feel like they choose a team, and then with that team, then they go and they interview them about their jobs and experiences and maybe what jobs that they know about. So
Yeah, kind of broadens their horizon. I like growing up, I knew about the jobs my family did. I mean, I really didn't know about a lot of other jobs. So I think it's a really important exercise.
I do too. I think
Yeah.
it's really cool.
Yeah. Exciting, exciting. Julia, anything else you want to share? I know you put a lot of work into your classes and it shows. The kids love them.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you. I'm excited. I love teaching and it's just been a really great joy for me.
Yeah, it shows. And that's always the hallmark of a great online educator because if you can get kids in there and keep their interest and they come back the next year for the same teacher, you know you've succeeded. Because a lot of online classes are pretty one-dimensional. And I know that you put a lot of heart and soul into yours. The kids know that they're an important part of the classroom and you're interacting with them and guiding them towards success in that class. So if you guys have any questions, we'd love to chat with you. Julia, thanks for joining me today.
Thank
All right.
you.
Yeah, you guys take good care. We'll see you later, and I'll post more links in the comments below.